Hey world, ArachneQueen here to wish you a belated Happy Valentine's Day. And on the subject of Valentine's Day, this video was originally going to be about just that. I was going to talk about how annoying it is when people get all whiny and butthurt over Valentine's Day, and how incredibly unattractive it is that they can't realize that Valentine's Day is about recognizing love in your life, regardless of where it comes from. But anyway, I digress. So, the other day, my husband and I discovered that Merida, our curly-haired tarantula, was molting. However, it did not look like a good molt. So I thought I would talk today about molting and what can happen with molting and what it is. Now, when we want to grow, it's simple. Our muscles and our bones move, our skin stretches, we grow. Simple as that. However, invertebrates with exoskeletons, like tarantulas, they can't do it that easily. Now, when they want to grow, which they have to do about once a year, or at least perform the molt on average about once a year, depending on their age, they have to literally cast off their own skeleton and everything that goes with it and grow in that manner. To do this, the exoskeleton grows beneath the current one. And you can see this happening underneath their current exoskeleton because it will begin to darken. Now, as that exoskeleton develops and grows, the tarantula can get a little more bulbous in appearance and things like that. And then finally it'll be time. A sort of lubricant fluid will grow between, or will develop between, the two different exoskeletons, and the tarantula will begin to molt. Now, when a tarantula is molting, it flips itself over onto its back, often on a web mat that they built themselves, I guess, to keep themselves clean and more comfortable. And they lay there on their back and will begin to actually just push their skeleton off of them. It's done through subtle movements barely visible to the human eye, and is usually done by sort of contracting and flexing their tendons to move their legs through the joints. Now, when this is finished, they lay there on their back for a while, and they usually rub their legs together and will kind of groom themselves. And it's a way of resting and also just a way of drying off because, like I said, a lubricant fluid is put onto the exoskeleton to help the process. And then eventually the tarantula will flip over and dry off for a while and then be ready to go about life normally again in a shiny new suit. Now, a lot of things can go very wrong with molting, unfortunately. You can kind of compare it to the way a human gives birth, except a baby only has to be born once in its lifetime. A tarantula has to do it about once a year on average. So they literally shed everything. Their eyes are shed, their fangs are shed, their stomach is shed. You can even see it inside of their molt. They shed everything. It's their form of growth. So when that happens, excuse me, a lot of things can go wrong. When a tarantula gets too old and is really not as strong as it used to be, it will have difficulty being able to have the strength to shove its own exoskeleton off of itself. A keeper can assist the tarantula if it feels it needs to, or it needs that assistance, and they feel confident enough to assist the tarantula. They are able to do it because if a tarantula takes too long to molt, it will die. That's just all there is to it. The legs and joints will not form properly. The tarantula will simply die. Now Merida, even when they're young, like Merida is, I think she's maybe a year old now. I'm not sure if she's even up to a year now. A tarantula can have what's called a wet molt. Now, like I said before, a tarantula does have a fluid it produces when it molts. But sometimes there's a little bit too much of it, and it's what's called a wet molt. Now, when we saw Merida, I mean, we've seen her molt before, and a couple of times actually. And when we saw her, we immediately knew that something was not right. Mind you, she was fresh out of her exoskeleton. She was still laying on her back. But with the way she was laying and the way she looked, we honestly thought she was dead. Now, a tarantula does not lay on its back when it dies. That's a common misconception. They usually are upright but with their legs curled under them, kind of like a clenched hand. It's called a death curl. But she didn't look right. Finally, she did start moving again. She started rubbing her legs together and everything like that. And she even flipped herself over, which I was very relieved to see. But her joints and everything took a very long time to dry. Last time she molted, she was dry completely probably within about a day. It's been about 3, 4 days, and I'm still tentative about feeding her. She is moving around, she's staying mostly in her hovel. She's being pretty careful, but she is, like I said, it was a difficult molt even for a young tarantula, and so I'm being tentative about it. So that is about molting. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to let me know down there. And like or dislike if you're a hater, but we all know what haters do. They're going to hate. And thank you so much for watching. Love you all very much, and I will catch you next time.